Hello, this is Philip with Georgian Landscape Design and Georgian Landscape TV. We're in Roswell right now at the Graves Project, and we've been here quite a while, but I wanted to kind of give you some background knowledge about how we approach this job of actually starting back at the latter part of January. We had to come out and look at the topography. Stormwater was a real problem here. Because of the size of the property, stormwater was collecting and getting a full head of steam and ultimately ending up in the pool. The first project was to manage the stormwater, and we did that through a series of grade adjustments to allow us to capture and control the stormwater, ultimately getting it out to the street. There is an existing culvert there, so we were able to direct it there. But if you're going to capture and control the stormwater, you need to make sure that it's sustainable, because stormwater will have, if you allow it to, will have debris and sediment in it. And if it slows at any point in its travels, it will drop that sediment and eventually change the grade over time. When we did these grade adjustments, there were certain ones that had a certain amount of capacity and drop to them, and we protected them with a dry creek bed and a decorative dry creek bed. We had an eye on beauty. We enhanced them with boulders and other various size stones within the dry creek bed to not only enhance the beauty of the dry creek bed, but also to enhance the beauty of the area. Capture and control of stormwater was job number one, and then additional beautification elements started to take place. Obviously, the introduction of sod, which you can see, and we wanted to create kind of a golf course meandering aspect to the sod. So you'll see that there's always a meandering grass line to allow it to have that overall golf course kind of a look. And then we started adding element. We added a garden pathway that leads up to various little seating areas throughout the trees. You'll see that. It's beautiful. We added a pergola. There was an existing pergola right here off to my left, and we needed to try to somehow tie in the fireplace area. So we decided to build a pergola there. So now you have these two spaces and you've got design equity between the two. That was a critical element that we were able to add. We actually started backing it up. We started with a fence. So we created a privacy fence along the back side of the property and a ranch fence along the front side of the property. Unfortunately, the Graves are going to be faced with a new subdivision being built right next to them. So they wanted to start with the privacy fence. But in addition to the privacy fence, we added evergreen materials. Evergreen materials that will allow the additional privacy, because obviously they're going to get, 20 and 30 feet tall, and allow that natural beauty rather than the unnatural beauty that a privacy fence offers. But the Graves have been wonderful throughout the project. We've been enhancing the project, adding things, working with Catherine to evolve the project, and it's been a real joy. You'll get a chance to see a lot of these elements right now. One of the important elements when you're adjusting the grade is accessibility. So we've done a lot of, like I said, capturing and controlling the stormwater, which in areas creates a fairly deep ravine or swale or whatever you want to call it. And then obviously it's decorative, like I mentioned, but we need to create accessibility. And that's why we installed flagstone bridges in a couple of locations. So you can walk from area to area and not be tripping over a bunch of boulders. So we can walk up to a Cumberland blend pathway, and this will meander up through the pines to a few different locations. You'll get a chance to see that too. We also created a Cumberland blend pathway that meanders up through the pines, and there's a couple of seating areas embedded within it. And you'll notice that the Cumberland blend is a color that ties itself well to the flagstone and the dry creek beds. So you have, again, design equity. It's kind of funny as you work through a project like the project here in Roswell, you don't initially have the idea to do certain elements, but all of a sudden they kind of pop into your head to, hey, maybe we should add this meandering pathway. And I spoke with Catherine about it, and she was completely on board. It's really fun when you can kind of evolve the project and establish elements that sometimes outshine the original elements as part of the plan. So I talked to Catherine last week, and she says that she comes up here and walks on this pathway every day. And the neat thing about it is we've got a couple of seating areas. We've got one here, one just behind me that I just passed, and then there's one up the top here. And each of them gives you a certain kind of a bird's eye view of the land and what we've done up at this point. Also contained within the Graves Roswell project was redoing a small courtyard right outside of our kitchen window. We just added a patio, a few steps, and we created a raised bed and added plant materials and some boulders. You'll notice the pathway is completely natural, a natural shape, so it's not a perfect radius, and it's deep, very thick flagstone, so it's absolutely stable. And then it has boulders embedded on the perimeter, and we added the plant materials, the Japanese maple, and so forth to enhance the area. So over time, as these plants grow in, this is going to be a really neat area, potentially to put a little bench or maybe a small table and some chairs. But in terms of the kitchen window, much better appearance when you glance out while you're having to wash the dishes. Hopefully, you've been able to see all of these elements within the project here in Roswell, and the information that I've provided has been informative, and we'll talk to you soon.